All three of you are disruptors in very different arenas. Tell me your quick 30-second elevator pitch about your business. Karen, let's start with you.
Great. So I am the founder and CEO of We the People, and we make really beautiful, inclusive body care. And so we've really taken the principles of skincare, the clean ingredients, the active ingredients, the efficacy, and it's all aimed from the neck down.
Shadia.
I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kinside, and we are a tech company. We connect working parents with daycares and preschools nationwide. We partner with thousands of employers to connect their employees with the childcare they need to have productive, fulfilling lives.
Pinky.
Love that. I'm like, ooh. I am a serial entrepreneur. So to be honest, when I was sitting here, I'm like, all right, which business I'm gonna say? But I am the founder and CEO of Slutty Vegan ATL. I'm the founder and CEO of Bar Vegan ATL. I'm the CEO of the Pinky Cole Foundation. And I'm the founder and CEO of American Sesh. And all that means is that I am a change agent. What I do very well is I help people to reimagine entrepreneurship, business, food, education, financial literacy, all of the above. That's what I do.
Well, let's go the opposite way. Pinky, how did you find your passion?
Finding my passion, I've been hustling for a very, very long time. So when you see people talk about like the American dream, I feel like I've been seeking that my entire life. I come from a background where my father spent 22 years in prison, and my mother was a working class citizen working to make somebody else's dream come true for the rest of her life. So I learned about loyalty and commitment and being a risk taker all between both of my parents. So as I got older, I realized that I'm a dreamer that needs to learn how to execute on those dreams. So I've had several businesses. Some did well, some did not. But what I realized that in order for me to be the very best version of myself, I have to do things that I'm in alignment with. So I went from having a Jamaican restaurant and being vegetarian and selling chicken to having a vegan concept where I'm doing what I love, I'm walking in my truth, I am in alignment, and I get to teach people and help them reimagine food in a way that they've never done. So what I realized today is that anything that I do, gotta be intentional, it gotta speak to my spirit, and it gotta be able to help people. And that's how I know like I'm in the right direction, I'm doing the right thing, and being exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Shadi, I know your journey took a lot of twists and turns to end up where you are now. Was it your own experience that led you to believe there's a need for me to do this?
Necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And so for me personally, where I am today as a mother of two, yeah, I'm working on something, on a problem that I personally live every single day, which is the hassles, inconvenience, and unaffordability of childcare. But the guiding thread for me all along has been a deep passion for public service. And that is very much informed by my upbringing, by my mother. And we had to depend on a lot of public services and social goods. And I'm inspired legitimately to make the world a better place.
Karen, you arrived at your passion by knowing what you didn't want to be. How did you get there?
Yeah, so I had a really traditional, very religious upbringing. I was born in Brooklyn, but raised in Guyana. There wasn't a lot of room and freedom to dream and to kind of see myself as taking up space in the world. And so We the People is literally the epitome of taking up space. And I saw where I didn't belong in beauty, and I just really wanted to take up space there and create some space for other people who haven't been seen.
You felt like the beauty industry wasn't speaking to you.
Wasn't speaking to me, wasn't seeing me, wasn't visualizing who I wanted to be. And literally, our product addresses concerns that they're not things that I could find on the market even today. And so, you know, I sort of move like water and just find the spaces to go and really create something incredible.
I feel as if all of you saw a need and then filled it. And Shadia and Karen, you both moved here from other places, from Guyana, from Mexico. Is there something about this country that makes it particularly hospitable to entrepreneurs? Do you think the American dream still exists in that way?
I use the expression the American dream very carefully because it still is very much a land of the haves and the have-nots. And yet I am such a beneficiary of really being part of an incredible country that actually does create opportunities. I remember my mother moving us here, and even though we were at the bottom rung of the economic ladder, for me, I was already privy to a much more privileged upbringing than I could have ever had in Mexico. So just starting from foundationally, I have a profound gratitude for this country. And yet, I'm still one of very few that got through the travails of actually moving through the educational system, the professional system to get to where I am.
What about you, Karen, moving here from Guyana when you were 7? How was life different for you? How did being in the United States open your eyes to the possibilities?
It's a traditional thing that many Caribbean people do. I don't know if you had that experience or saw that with family and friends, that, you know, you'd have the child here and it was all about the access. It was all about the opportunity for education. That was the big thing. And they would be raised in your home country, in the family's home country, so that they could get that rooting of culture. And so I have a very clear memory of my upbringing in Guyana. It is truly foundational to everything that I am and the way that I see the world. And then I also have this really, really clear feeling that I still do, that there was someone working really hard on this end to set the tone and the space and the foundation for you to excel. Don't F it up.
Who was that?
That was my mother.
So a lot of your family was here setting you up for success while you were being raised in Guyana by your grandmother?
Yes, by my grandmother and my uncles.
Did you miss your mom during those years?
I didn't know her. Because I went when I was 2 months old, so I actually didn't know her. Yeah, and now that I have a 20-month-old, I'm like, that must have been really, really, really hard.
Pinky, the day you were born, your dad was sentenced to 22 years in prison. Your mom had to work a number of jobs. And I'm curious how that impacted you and how it affected your drive and ambition.
You know, it's interesting because I have never been on American soil with my father. Because as soon as he got out of prison, he got deported. So all of my life, there was the psyche of knowing that I'm the offspring of somebody who has to be told what to do. I realized that that is not an easy thing to do. So as I grew up and in a single parent household, I'm like, life is okay, but this is not the life that I want to have for the rest of my life.
Your dad was present in your mind, but not physically when you were growing up. And it strikes me that all 3 of you had very strong female role models. How did that affect you in terms of watching your grandmother and knowing that your mom was setting life up for you in the States and traveling from Mexico with your mom and your brothers and seeing your mom working her tail off all those years?
It showed me how to be strong. I don't know about you, but like, I am strong because of my mother. Like, I've seen her go through the greatest depths to make sure that we had what we need. So I'm always confident in my pursuits because my mother is very militant. She's a Caribbean mom. Like, you need to wash the dishes right now. Go pick up a book. Like, that is my mother.
Oh, go pick up a book.
You know what I'm saying? So like, to see a strong example of a woman that dominated everything, even though she worked for somebody else, she dominated. Like, she was the person that everybody needed to get stuff done. And I became that woman, and it's funny, full circle moment. My mother is actually our nanny. She lives with us now, so it's like, she tells me what to do, and I'm like, but that level of structure has helped me to structure the way that I think about life and how I view it. So I'm forever indebted to her. And every single interview that I've ever done since 2018, I really pay tribute to my mom because her strength is the reason why I am who I am.
Shadi, I imagine that you think about your mom a lot because you're professional life is based on wanting to be a good mother and a good professional. So how did your mom impact your life choices and the way you've seen your career and your family unfold?
My mother was 28 with 3 young kids when she chose to immigrate to this country. Being a mother now, I'm able to relate to the strength of my mother in a totally different way. I mean, my mom has always been one of my heroes and a role model of courage and strength and curiosity and adventurism. But the respect that I've gained now in hindsight is on a whole nother level, because parenthood, it is the ultimate leveling force. It is universally hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's worse than running a business. It's harder than that.
It is
Harder.
Yes. I describe it as it's a violent identity transition.
Yes, it is.
And being where I was, having had my first child, having a great stellar career, and having way more access to resources than my mom ever did, I could not imagine how it is that she did it. And that was a huge force for me to co-found Kinside. So in that regard, I feel like I'm paying tribute to my mother and all mothers every single day by actually showing up to work and working what we're working on at Kinside.
What about you in terms of female role models, Karen?
Yeah, I mean, so my grandmother, of course, set the tone and the epitome of that really for me. As everyone is talking, I realized that the women in my life gave this incredible, they were just this spectrum between like softness and strength, and just really sort of being able to flex in and out depending on what was needed in the time. And I think maybe that's one of the things that I've certainly picked up, is this ability to be able to nurture as needed, but then also kind of get up and go out into the world and carve something out for myself.
But of course, everyone talks about imposter syndrome, no matter where you come from. But I do think that for some people to find them, with your backgrounds, to find yourselves in sort of places of privilege where people have very different backgrounds, how did you find the confidence to make you feel like you deserved a seat at the table?
I built my own table. Like when you talk about the building, being in rooms, what I realize is, specifically speaking about Slutty Vegan, when I built my company, I made my company so irresistible that people wanted to come to my table. They wanted to come in my atmosphere, my energy.
I guess that's the appeal of being an entrepreneur. You don't have to fit into someone else's
You don't have to
world.
fit in.
You create your own.
Yeah, there's also something interesting about the immigrant experience of literally migrating to another country in order to fit in. It never works. I watch my mother and the people around me sort of flex themselves in and out of spaces and come back to this grounding and rooting in their culture, and then go back out, flex some more, come back. And I think that was just inspiring, just to realize that it's never rigid. You feel the imposter syndrome, sometimes you don't, but you have this constant sort of flexing and shaping yourself in and out of spaces.
Because of the immigrant experience.
Yeah. After a while, you're just like, all right, cool. Like, just embrace it.
You just embrace it,
Yeah.
The uniqueness, and that's why you are who you are.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur is exciting and exhilarating, but also scary. And all of you could have gone a safer route. And yet you gave up lucrative, more traditional jobs in favor of taking the chance of being a successful entrepreneur. Why?
I don't know how to play it safe. Yeah, like I don't want to take my last breath, and the only thing people remembered about Pinky Cole is that like she just existed, and that's it. I want people to know that I've enacted change with my behavior, how I showed up, how I connected people, how I created opportunities. I wanted to be able to impact a generation of people. And I get to do that every day. And when I tell you that's the most fulfilling part of it,
yeah.
I got a foundation called the Pinky Cole Foundation. And we literally help bridge the generational wealth gap. And you'd be surprised how many people in different ecosystems just want opportunity. All they need is access to resources, to capital, to phone numbers. And to be able to do that at this level in the game tells me that I have a responsibility to change the world, and I don't have to be a politician to do it. You know, like I could be Pinky Cole, who is a serial entrepreneur that just wants to see everybody win. So that's why I don't take the easy way out. And I would like to say that you guys don't take the easy way out either, right? Like, y'all are doing magnificent things.
Working in corporate America, something you both did at one point in your careers, why did you decide corporate America isn't for me, I'm gonna strike out on my own, and there are no guarantees?
Listen, corporate America was one of the first places where I felt and really shouldered the burden of not belonging. It is very hard to fit in. It is very hard to progress. And I wanted to build We the People as an homage to the women that got me here, and to the women that I call my friends and fellow founders, and just create this space where we didn't have to fit into this narrative that had been painted for us for centuries at this point, passed on generation to generation. You've got to be perfect. You have to be flawless. And God forbid you even try to age, especially publicly, you know? And
Amen.
and so there was an opportunity to create a different narrative by being rebellious. And I think the thing that maybe we're kind of getting at is rebellion probably comes naturally to all of us.
And also, you're serving other people while you're creating a successful company. You're solving problems, all of you, for other people. So it is outward focused in a way.
Absolutely. I mean, we're working on making childcare universally accessible to all. Childcare has traditionally been seen as a woman's issue. Women have had enough of it. Women are becoming entrepreneurs. Women are raising billions of dollars in funds, and those two things are converging at this moment in time into companies like Kinsight, but not just Kinsight. There's a whole plethora. There's a whole industry that is growing around women's issues, mothers' issues, and we're showing the world that these are not just nice to have social goods that we're fixing, but that these are real, legitimate, worthy businesses to create with a great profit motive behind it.
You use the word risky, and I know 50% of small businesses fail after 5 years. And you all have dealt with failure at one time or another. I think people fear it, but that's where you really learn. What has failure taught each of you?
When I'm thinking about the word fail, failure is not failure at all. It's finding the aspiration in the losses. And it took for me to have a restaurant that had a grease fire, and I lost everything in that grease fire because I didn't have fire insurance. So from the outward appearance, it looked like a failure. I went flat broke, my car got repoed, I got kicked out of my house. And when I had my full circle moment, I realized that it was not failure at all. What it was is an opportunity for me to get smarter, to get stronger, to gain more character. So now I'm an expert, and I ain't even had to go to school to do it. So my outlook on life is different. So I think from the glass half full instead of the glass half empty. And that is how I'm able to maneuver through the crazy world of being an entrepreneur, because it's hard. It is not easy to be an entrepreneur, but it's so rewarding because it's something that your hands and your brain and your thought process put together, and you see this final product. Like, it feels so good. And to be able to do that every day is just like, yes, I got something to live for. Every single day I got something to live for. So nothing ever feels like failure.
Have you all learned from your mistakes in the same way Pinky has?
Probably not as eloquently.
But I do cry in the shower a lot.
I really wish that more people talked about the crying in the shower moments. When you have had this background of everybody did it for you, everybody sacrificed for you, you really are carrying just so much on your shoulders. And my entire life, it was, you have one job, do not fail.
How have you bounced back from failure? And how do you make failure your friend?
Yeah, so I think I needed to realize that it wasn't like a solo thing that you were carrying. It is literally the human experience. You know that once you've conquered one thing, it's okay, I'll get through the next thing. It's like setting a precedence for as the challenges mount, what you know you can get through time and again. But every single failure still does feel new in a way, especially when they're bigger failures and when they're failures that maybe are public or when they're failures that affect other people.
So one of the most important jobs that I have as the CEO of a tech startup is fundraising. And fundraising is an exercise in rejection and handling rejection gracefully and moving right along. But I don't take that personally. That's just par for the game. So I think maybe that's another reframe, right? It's what is failure and success? It also feels so binary. In this regard, is this rejection, are the first 51 no's a rejection of me? No. Mm-hmm. And so I think, again, this concept of failure, if we reframe it as opportunities to get what you want, get what you need, and learn along the way, you actually get faster.
Right?
Reassess.
Or not take it personally, it sounds like.
Not taking it personally is step number one. I will say, combined with that, though, that we're not robots. So one of the most empowering things I've done for myself in the last 3 years is have a therapist, so that I can learn to tap into those emotions. So like, I feel mad. You feel a sting when you're rejected, especially with someone you thought that they should invest for whatever reason you think. You feel the sting, and it's okay to feel that feeling. And the sooner that you can actually incorporate those sentiments and literally incorporate them, make them part of the okay universe. It's okay that I feel that way. What's next on the agenda?
I think things are changing, but I think a lot of women are trepidatious about becoming entrepreneurs because they don't feel confident in their business skills. They don't understand finance. They don't understand venture capital. They're intimidated by all of this. You all have learned on the job. What advice would you give women who lack the confidence and the business acumen to be entrepreneurs?
I would say do it scared. Like, I still get intimidated at this level in the game, right? But that is when it feels the most exhilarating, because the feeling after you do that thing that scares you, it's just like, what's next? I'm ready, I'm fired up.
Yeah.
So for women who want to get in this space, like I said before, when I first started, you said equity, who's that? Like, I don't know who that is. Okay, I'm like, safe note, what? Like, I don't understand.
And what's safe about it?
What is safe about it? Like, and there's still stuff that I don't understand,
But
right?
how did you learn it?
I learned it from like being in the trenches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From like really it happening to you in real time. Like, explain it to me in a way that a 5-year-old can understand. Because what I learned about this game that we're in, there's a lot of big words. It's a lot of very abstract language. And if you really don't lock in, you won't understand what's happening. It's almost like politics. You tell me like the professional way, I'm like, okay, all right, well, meet me where I'm at. Tell me what this really means.
I was gonna say, you have to ask questions,
Yeah.
right? You
Yes.
have to say, break it down for
Break
me,
it
explain
down.
this to me.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, men also aren't born with the answers. That was one of the biggest aha moments for me. I don't know if it was an aha moment, it was a realization. There's this fallacy that just to even ask the question, as women, if we don't have the business acumen or the confidence, then how will we ever do it? The same thing for a male counterpart. Well, as a male, you never run a business before, so how are you gonna do it? And so just understanding that every problem is breakdownable, every problem is solvable is actually true for any human who endeavors something that they've never done before.
And I would imagine having mentors is really important too. Someone you can go to and you can say, what? I don't really understand that. Can you help me out here?
Well, I would be remiss to not mention that I have co-founders. Okay, so also I'm like, we don't do it alone either. There's teams of people that you build to build with you. And then there are teams of folks you put around the table that are outside of the business, but still on your team, like investors, mentors, the lawyer you pay. None of this happens alone, so it's not that lonely.
Having said that, do you find people who compensate for your shortcomings, or how do you kind of find that right balance?
I know for me, I like to be around people that are smarter than me.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Like, I want to learn from you, especially in, like, I've never in my life had a multi-million-dollar business. So half of the time I don't know what I'm doing, right? But when I have people around me that have the chops, have the expertise, I can learn from them in real time. Just like we talked about asking the questions, I can ask those questions. But I want to be around people that are more sophisticated in business than me, because while I'm raw and, like, you know, abstract, and I have this big colorful personality, I have somebody that's nice and put together that I can learn from, and I can apply it to the business every day. I always make a joke with my team, like, I don't want to deal with all, like, the boring stuff, the business stuff. I want to inspire people and, like, make them happy to come to work. I want them to love growing this empire with me. But in order for me to do that, the part that I love the most, I need people that are smarter than me, that understand true business and operations and financials and P&Ls and stuff that's just like, we got to do this again, even though I know it's necessary, so that I can do the things to be able to grow the business from the other side.
And also, I think knowing that you need that is a skill in and of itself that is very necessary to be an entrepreneur. So my investors actually had to sit me down one day. I thought that I needed to own every single element of the business and do it all. And the fact is, I didn't go to business school. I'm brand, product, storytelling, like all of the life and the ethos of everything behind the business. I see clearly what the next, 10 years looks like. I know what I want to change. You need the right people around you to do that.
What does it mean to each of you to be a disruptor? Pinky.
Ooh, disruption. It's like my favorite word in the vocabulary. But to be a disruptor is to be unstoppable. No matter how many times you are faced with opposition, to keep going even when it hurts, even when you feel like crying, even when you get all the no's, to really overlook all of the noise and be relentless in all of your pursuits, to be able to shock and teach and educate at the same time, to be able to change the course of how we view the world and really make a difference in how we look at the American dream. That's disruption to me. Yeah.
Disruption for me really means seeing the people and the spaces and the things that other people aren't paying attention to, and then very simply just ruthlessly going after that and carving out something for those people, and I think we kind of get the moniker of disruption because of that brazenness, that boldness, that fire that drives us every day. And so the very first thing is we see an opportunity, and it's either something that needs to be broken down or something that needs to be built. And that is truly disruption.
It's identifying a need and filling it, isn't it? Something that hasn't been done before but needs to be done. Does that resonate with you at all, Shadia? Because I feel like what you're doing is creating something new that should have been created a while ago, right?
Right. There's a very particular type of entrepreneurialism that is being born right now, and that is solving essential needs of families, which is my space, which sounds like not sexy. And yet we have found the angle that makes it a really sexy venture endeavor. So in that regard, I see myself as a disruptor.
And what you're doing is going to allow a lot of other people to be disruptors, because you're unleashing their potential by making it doable to raise a family and have a career.
Absolutely.
That's all right.